You're listening to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Calandra Martin, intuitive brand designer for spiritual entrepreneurs. The Magnetic Boss Podcast is where visionaries come together to openly share wisdom and authentic conversations. I know that you are ready to leave your legacy in the world and become sought out in your industry. I also know that you are sick and tired of getting overlooked. You're ready to have a magnetic business. I'm here to help you create your magnetic brand. It's my mission to help you show up confidently with a professional, irresistible online presence. If you're in this for the long game and all in on the big vision you have for your business, let's dive in. Today I want to share with you the top 3 ways that you can build authority with your brand quickly, easily, and on a rinse and repeat system. And this is going to require a little bit of dedication. It is going to require a little bit of your time, but I have seen time and time again the rewards of following an organic strategy with this that is going to help you with really positioning yourself as the go-to expert in whatever area of business it is that you are in. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I value your time and I value my time, and I also have a sleeping baby in the other room. So I encourage you to listen to this episode, and if something sparks an idea in your brain, run with it or write it down for a later time to return back to. I just today created a list in my own business and life that was a 3-part list. It was a brainstorm list, a priority list, and a pause list. And I have to do this for myself a lot because I have shiny object syndrome. I'm constantly a squirrel chasing new things. And so I don't want this episode to veer you off of a track that is working for you. But if you are finding that things are stagnant in your business and you're needing to amplify your marketing and allow your business to be seen and heard by more people, then here are some ideas for you. Okay, so let's jump right in. The first one is very simple and easy to do if you already have an engaged audience on a social media platform. And this is to do guest interviews. I'm not just talking guest interviews where you are interviewing people on your platform. That can be great for visibility as well. But I'm specifically talking about reaching out to other aligned businesses and brands that have your ideal clients in their audience already so that you can tap into their audience on social media. Give them an opportunity to interview you so that you can share your expertise, share your experience, and allow their audience to come to you for that result that you might be offering. Now, something that's really important to be mindful of here is that you don't want to just go out and pitch yourself to any old person on Instagram. Particularly Instagram Lives are a really common way to be building your audience and your platform these days. And so the way you go about this is going to be very intentional. We don't want this to feel icky and spammy, and you probably don't want to reach out to somebody that you have quite literally never talked to before or maybe don't even follow yet. But if you have been building organic relationship with somebody on Instagram and you're noticing that you have an aligned following, this is a really good way for you to help them help you. It's going to give them an opportunity to have content created for their platform without having to do a whole lot of legwork. And it's going to help you in building that visibility very quickly and easily through these interviews, guest interviews. So this could be on Instagram, this could be on Facebook, or really anywhere else. The most common thing that I'm seeing in 2023 is Instagram Live interviews, and we're going to talk about podcasting in this episode too, but I'm specifically talking about social media. You could also reach out to somebody who is running a Facebook group. If they have a large audience, engaged audience in their Facebook group, maybe you are offering to do some sort of free training or value interview for their audience that is going to help you build new authentic relationships with people that are your ideal client. And I should mention here before I dive into these 3 ways to be building your authority is that it's really important to reach out to people in these collaboration opportunities with either proof that you know what you're doing, right? You want to share with them previous interviews that you've done, podcast interviews that you've done, whatever it looks like that you have published. And you may also want to take the time to put together a media kit. And a media kit, if you're not familiar, is quite simply a PDF that you send to somebody that has a photo of you. Brand photos are preferred on these pieces of brand material. You also want to have your bio, your social links, some topics that you might want to talk about, and really anything else that's important or might be important for your possible interviewer or host to know about you before they say yes to whatever collaboration you're reaching out for. A little plug for the media kit if you don't have one yet or you need to update your media kit. This is something that we do in the VIP days at Magnetic Boss Studio. I redid mine for 2023 just to give it a little bit of a facelift, and it feels really good, and I feel really confident in sharing my message and my pitch to people, whether that's through email or DMs or whatever the avenue is that we're reaching out. Okay, so the first one is social media collaborations, guest interviews on social media. The second way that you can be gaining visibility and growing your audience organically is to do featured blog posts. Now, you might be listening to this episode and thinking to yourself, well, blog posts are dead, right? Nobody does blogs anymore, but that's actually so not true. It's very far from the truth. And blog content is a really good evergreen way to be gaining that visibility and also helping you in your SEO. So if you have a website for your business and you are featured on a blog where they are then linking your website on their blog, that's going to help your ranking significantly on the Google search engine. It's also going to help your ranking in Pinterest. So just be mindful that anytime somebody is sharing your content or sharing your website, that is really, really great for the cross-pollination of audiences, and it's also good for your SEO. So this is a really good way to create a blog post that is very high value, that is very well written, right? And maybe perhaps leading people to the next step in the process of getting to know you and being in your world, and sharing that with somebody else's audience in a way that really aligns with their business as well. So again, we always want these collaborations to be mutually beneficial. I am not saying take 3 months to write out a well thought out blog post and structure that. But if you have content already that you have written that has performed well, that might be a good thing to be looking over, updating, and pitching to somebody who has a really great blog following or a larger audience than you, so that you can start to get visibility in that way as well. So don't take too much time on any of these pieces. I really want to emphasize that because we can get lost in the systems and the processes of this. You can always outsource these types of things to a VA or a PR person or agency, whatever aligns for your business. So just know that it doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be hard. And then the last way that you can be building your authority is through podcast interviews. And this is probably my favorite way because people really want to be able to hear your voice. They are going to get to know, like, and trust you so much faster on a podcast than maybe a blog post. That being said, I know that podcasting isn't for everybody. And I also know that if you haven't done it before, it can feel really intimidating. I have been in those shoes. I still feel intimidated recording podcast episodes. I trip over my words, I talk too fast, and I constantly have distractions in my life with 2 dogs and 2 kids. But podcasting is really going to be a catalyst for people getting to know you so much faster and in a much more genuine way. They're going to hear how you pronunciate things. They're going to hear how you speak your message. And that is so pivotal in your business when you begin to share that, because it's another step in cultivating your brand. So the more podcasting you can do, even if you're uncomfortable doing it, the easier it'll get. And also the more of a opportunity that you will have to be able to cultivate your own brand through your voice and through the podcasting platform. So pitching yourself to podcasts, there are many ways to go about this. What I highly recommend is to start within your inner circle, ask for referrals, reach out to people that you know that have podcasts. If you are listening to this podcast episode and you want to be featured on the Magnetic Boss podcast, reach out to me. I am always open to receiving emails from you if you have a message that is perhaps really aligned with our audience. I love doing guest interviews. The only downfall for me in this season, and why we've pushed many of them out in the beginning of this season of the podcast, is that I have a small baby and recording podcast interviews is literally happening on a whim. So scheduling interviews isn't super easy right now, but that's not to say that we can't schedule those out in the future. So reach out to people that you might know that have podcasts that are open to doing collaborations. You can always do a cross collaboration if you have a podcast yourself. That's a really good way for it to benefit you and the other person. And one more thing I love about podcasts is that not only are you having the opportunity to speak your message and share your brand really authentically in a conversation, but it's going to give you a ton of content that you can then share and cross-pollinate on social media as well. In most cases, when you do a podcast interview, that podcast host will share your interview on their social media platform. So it's kind of skipping that first step of doing a social media interview, because you're still getting that visibility on their social platforms. So just keep that in mind when you are weighing the pros and cons of each of these and uncovering which one might be a good fit for you in your business right now. Okay, so those are the three. I threw that out really fast. We are like 10 minutes into this episode, but I hope that it was helpful for you. So the first collaboration for presenting your brand to another audience for building authority is through social media interviews. Instagram Live, Facebook Live, group features, whatever that might be. The second opportunity is getting featured in a blog post or featuring a blog post on somebody else's website. And then the third is podcast interviews. So really, any one of these is going to be helping you build your authority. And the more that you do this, the more that you compound this over time, the easier it will be for people to look at your account, look at your website, look at wherever it is that you're sharing content, presenting your brand, and say, oh, yeah, she knows what she's doing, right? We want people to look at your business as a whole and get that feeling right away of, okay, I can trust this person, right? I know that I can trust this person, and here is the reason why. And all of these collaborations and all of these ways that you're presenting your brand are going to help you with really positioning yourself as that authority expert so that people are reaching out to you versus you having to follow other tactics that might include reaching out to them. And this is also where the snowball effect is created, where you get to build that momentum in having people reaching out to you for collaborations, having media publications reaching out to you. The more people see your name out there, the more your brand is going to be recognized. That's really just how it works, especially in the online space. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. You got something out of this episode, I'd love for you to screenshot it, share it on Instagram, tag me, share it with somebody that you know might benefit from listening to this episode. I'm all about sharing the wealth and spreading the knowledge, so I hope this helps you. This is something that I am always evaluating in my business as we are in the season that we're in, or I'm in rather, with having a new baby. This is the evaluation period of what works best and how can we still be building that brand authority, meanwhile having very limited time and energy and quiet space. So for me, blog posts are where it's at right now. It doesn't require me to speak too much, but that is just the season we're in now, and podcast interviews are going to be in the near future. I love doing podcast interviews and collaborating with other business owners. It's probably one of my favorite things that I get to do, and it's my favorite thing to be able to share that knowledge with you here as well. So until next time, I am sending you so much love. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you are listening so you never miss a beat. For episode show notes, visit calandramartin.com/podcast. Your iTunes reviews and your sharing of the show helps us reach more magnetic bosses just like you. Until next time.